Welcome back to the deep dive. You know how you sent us that thought-provoking piece by Andrew Kagan, the one about generative AI?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we thought it'd be fascinating to, kind of see how different AI models would actually react to some of his ideas.
Oh, that's cool.
So we took your suggestion and ran with it. So for those just tuning in,
Yeah.
when we talk about generative AI, we're talking about those algorithms that can create, right? They can create new content. And we're talking text, images, music, you name it, even code from existing data.
Right, like a super-powered creative assistant.
Exactly. But
But
go ahead.
Kagan, he suggests that we might be on the verge of a real paradigm shift here,
Oh, okay.
where generative AI becomes less of an assistant and more of a kind of the core driving force behind a lot of different fields.
The core.
Yeah, he calls it a move from enabler to core.
Enabler to core. Okay.
Yeah.
So give us an example.
So like robotics, right? Robotics becoming like a physical manifestation of AI. So robots aren't just programmed, they're actually learning and adapting in real time thanks to generative AI.
So they're kind of evolving on their own in a way.
Exactly. He also talks about synthetic biology,
Right.
where AI could actually design like entirely new life forms.
Oh, wow.
It's essentially AI expressing itself through biology itself.
It's like AI is, it's like it's becoming the creator
Yeah,
instead of just, the tool that we use to create.
that's exactly it.
That's pretty wild. But what did the AIs, how did they respond to this?
Okay, so we presented this idea to 6 different generative AI models: ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot, Gemini, Grok, and Perplexity.
Okay, so the big players.
Yeah, the heavy hitters. And you know what's really fascinating? They all, every single one, found it to be a really compelling and potentially transformative concept.
Oh, really? They weren't like, nah, this is nonsense.
Not at all.
Huh.
In fact, there was a surprising amount of agreement, like across the board.
Oh, wow.
They all acknowledge that AI is kind of evolving beyond just a simple tool and becoming a more fundamental technological force.
Okay, so they all agreed on the general idea, but did any of them have like particularly interesting or unique takes on it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. ChatGPT, for example, really honed in on the potential impact on, human AR relationships.
Ooh, interesting.
It actually suggested that we might shift from being like the creators,
Right.
to more like curators or even co-creators with AI.
So instead of just telling the AI what to do, we're kind of working alongside it, guiding it.
Exactly.
And that raises all sorts of questions about like collaboration and even control,
It really does. ChatGPT even went so far as to question whether this shift would be like a natural evolution or a more fundamental shift in agency.
Whoa, so it's like even the AI is grappling with the philosophical implications here.
Yeah, pretty wild, huh?
Yeah, so we've got ChatGPT pondering the human-AI relationship.
Right.
What about some of the other ones?
Well,
Yeah.
Claude gave a really interesting historical context, I thought.
Okay.
It compared this potential shift with AI to other major technological transitions. Like, think about electricity.
Right. Okay.
How electricity went from being, a specific application to being like the very foundation of our modern world.
Right. So we didn't just start using electricity for light bulbs. It became like the backbone
Exactly.
of like our whole infrastructure.
And Claude also drew a parallel with DNA.
DNA.
Yeah. Initially, DNA was just another molecule.
Right.
And then we discover its role as this central information processing system of life itself, right? So Claude's suggesting we might be seeing a similar shift with AI.
Where it becomes the core information processor for like all these different fields.
Precisely.
That's a really neat analogy.
Yeah.
So we've got ChatGPT and Claude. What about some of these others? Did any of them go into potential applications of this whole AI as core concept?
Yeah, Copilot did. Copilot really highlighted the need for interdisciplinary synergy.
Interdisciplinary synergy.
Yeah, so it emphasized that if AI is going to be the core, we need people from all sorts of different fields to come together
Okay.
and figure out how to integrate it responsibly. Like, physicists working with AI developers or artists collaborating with AI to create new forms of expression.
Yeah, it's like we can't just leave it to the computer scientists. We need like everybody involved.
Exactly.
And I imagine there's a ton of ethical considerations there too.
Huge ethical considerations. And Copilot was really clear about that. It stressed the importance of really thinking about the ethical and societal implications of this whole shift.
Right. It's not just about like building cool tech.
Right.
It's about shaping our future.
That's exactly it.
Okay, so did any of the AIs actually give some examples of what this AI as core paradigm could look like? Like in practice?
Gemini did.
Oh, tell me more.
It gave some really vivid examples, especially in those fields that Kagan mentioned. Robotics and synthetic biology.
Okay, so for robotics, what did they say?
So for robotics, Gemini described robots that are guided by AI that can like adapt to their environment in real time, learning and evolving as they go.
So it's almost like self-driving cars, but for everything.
Exactly.
That's wild. And what about synthetic biology?
For synthetic biology, Gemini talked about AI actually designing completely new biological systems,
Wow.
maybe even creating organisms with specific functions or properties that could help address like healthcare challenges or agriculture or even environmental sustainability.
So it's like AI is almost like the architect of life itself in a way?
Yeah.
It is. It's really starting to feel like a paradigm shift.
And Gemini even went a step further,
Oh,
suggesting that this whole shift could lead to like a redefinition of intelligence itself.
wow.
You know, if AI becomes the core of so many fields, it could fundamentally change how we understand and define what it means to be intelligent.
So we're not talking about AI as a tool anymore, but as something that could reshape our whole understanding of intelligence.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot, Gemini. What about Grok? Anything interesting from Grok?
Yeah, Grok had a really interesting perspective on this idea of emergence.
Emergence.
Yeah, so it highlighted how as AI becomes more complex and interacts with other systems, we might see these entirely new properties and behaviors emerge.
So, like things that we can't even predict right now.
Exactly. Like, think about it this way. When you have all these individual parts that come together to form a larger system,
Right.
sometimes that whole is greater than the sum of its parts, right?
Okay.
New properties emerge that wouldn't exist if those parts weren't interacting.
I see.
So it's like you can't predict how a flock of birds will move just by studying a single bird. You know what I mean?
Right.
So Grok is suggesting that something similar could happen with AI. As it gets more complex and interconnected,
We might see some, like, totally unexpected outcomes.
unpredictable.
That's kind of a scary thought.
It is. It's pretty thought-provoking.
Yeah.
And Grok also brought up this really fascinating point about the potential for AI evolution through feedback loops.
So it's learning as it goes?
Yeah, so as AI systems generate outputs and then learn from the results,
They're getting smarter and smarter.
they could essentially evolve over time, you know, becoming increasingly sophisticated and capable.
Wow. It's giving me sci-fi vibes for sure.
It's definitely something to think about.
Okay, so we've heard from 5 of the AIs. What about Perplexity? What were its big takeaways?
Perplexity actually brought a really healthy dose of pragmatism to the whole discussion.
Oh, okay.
You know, it offered some real-world examples to kind of back up this idea of AI becoming the core.
So it's not just some far-off, futuristic thing. It's happening now.
It's happening now, and Perplexity gave specific examples of how robotics and synthetic biology are, as Kagan put it, you know, becoming the physical and living expressions of AI.
Okay, what kind of examples?
So in robotics, it pointed to advances in like warehouse automation,
Okay.
where robots powered by AI are doing things like, you know, picking and packing and sorting
Right.
with just incredible efficiency. And in synthetic biology, it referenced the development of AI-designed proteins for drug discovery
Wow.
and disease treatment.
So it's not just doing a supporting role. It's like driving innovation.
That's exactly it.
I'm starting to see why Kagan is calling this a paradigm shift.
And Perplexity also highlighted the implications for human-AI collaboration, stressing how important it is that we develop these systems where humans and AI can work together effectively.
So it's not about replacing humans.
Right.
It's about, like, finding ways we can work together.
Exactly. And it also brought up the potential for cross-domain convergence.
Cross-domain convergence.
Yeah, so as AI becomes the core of all these different fields,
Right.
we might see a blurring of the boundaries between those fields, right? Leading to these new and unexpected innovations.
So instead of having, like, separate silos for, robotics and synthetic biology and all that,
Right.
they're all kind of starting to intersect because of AI.
Exactly. And of course, Perplexity didn't shy away from, talking about the potential for economic transformation
Yeah.
that this whole shift could bring, and acknowledge that as AI kind of takes on these more central roles, there are going to be some big changes in the job market
Right.
and the overall economy.
Okay, so it sounds like we're going to need to have some serious conversations about how to navigate those changes
Absolutely.
and make sure everybody benefits.
I think that's a perfect segue into our own thoughts on this whole topic.
Right. So we've explored Kagan's idea, we've heard from 6 different AIs, and now it's time for us to jump in with our own perspectives on what this all means.
It's amazing how each of those AI models brought a different perspective to the table.
I know, right? Like they each have their own, like, personality or something.
It's pretty wild. For me, I think one of the responses that really stuck with me was Claude's.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, drawing those parallels with electricity and DNA.
Right, right.
It just highlights how a technology can go from being a specific tool to, like, the very foundation of entire systems.
Yeah, it gives you a sense of, like, the historical context.
Exactly.
And it actually makes me feel a little less overwhelmed by this whole idea of AI as the core.
Oh.
Yeah, like, if we've navigated these kinds of shifts before, maybe we can do it again.
I think that's a really healthy way to look at it. It's
Yeah.
recognizing that we're capable of adapting.
Right, right.
Even when it seems a little daunting.
But for me, it was those examples that Perplexity gave that really, like, made it all click.
Oh, yeah. What specifically?
Like, hearing about AI driving those real innovations, in robotics and synthetic biology that's happening right now.
Right, right.
It makes it all feel a lot more tangible.
It's not just some abstract concept. It's
Yeah,
actually happening.
Yeah.
And it's evolving really fast.
And that brings up a really, really important question.
Yeah.
If this is already happening, like, what does it mean for us, for society? How do we adapt? How do we make sure this benefits everybody?
It's the big question, isn't it? And I think going back to Copilot, the emphasis on collaboration, right?
Right.
Interdisciplinary collaboration.
It can't just be the tech people figuring this out.
No, we need
like philosophers and ethicists and
absolutely. We need, social scientists,
Yeah.
artists. Everybody has to come to the table and figure out how to navigate this.
yeah, because we need those different perspectives, right?
Absolutely.
To make sure we're thinking about all the potential consequences,
Yeah,
both the good and the bad.
for sure.
And I think education is going to be huge in this.
Oh, absolutely. We need to be preparing future generations for a world where AI is, much more than just a tool they use.
Right, right.
It's going to be a fundamental force shaping their lives, their careers.
Yeah, their whole world.
Their whole world. We need to be teaching, like, critical thinking, creativity, problem solving.
And AI literacy.
Yes, AI literacy, for sure.
Because this isn't just about knowing how to use AI.
Right.
It's about understanding how it's shaping our world.
Our values, our identities, even.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
It really is.
So thinking about this this whole AI as core idea,
Yeah.
what excites you the most about it? For me, I think it's the potential to solve some of those big challenges that we're facing,
Like what?
like climate change,
Oh, wow.
developing sustainable energy,
Right.
curing diseases.
Yeah, if we can, if we can harness its power responsibly,
Right.
the possibilities for positive change are they're immense.
Yeah, and beyond those, like, big challenges, I'm also excited about the potential for creativity.
Oh, interesting.
Imagine AI as a collaborator, helping us push the boundaries of art, music, literature.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already seeing glimpses of that, but if AI becomes the core, those creative sparks could really fly.
I love that AI is a muse.
Right.
Helping us unlock new realms of expression.
Yeah, it's not just about, like, the cold, hard technology.
Right.
It's about human ingenuity
Absolutely.
and imagination.
Yeah, it's a good reminder.
But we have to acknowledge the potential downsides too, right?
Of course, yeah.
You can't just ignore those.
There are, valid concerns about job displacement, algorithmic bias,
Right.
the potential for AI to be used for, malicious purposes. We need to be mindful of those risks and really, proactively address them.
Because it's like any powerful technology, it could be used for good or bad.
Exactly.
And I think that's why those ethical considerations that Copilot brought up are so important.
Hugely important.
We need to be having these conversations now.
Absolutely. Before it's too late.
Yeah, and we need to be involving as many voices as possible.
I couldn't agree more.
And, one of the most thought-provoking points that came up from a few of those AIs was this idea of a shift in agency.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
If AI is the primary generator,
Right.
are we giving up too much control?
Yeah, it makes you wonder, like, are we risking becoming passive consumers of an AI-generated reality?
That's a chilling thought.
It is.
It's almost like those lines between creative and creation are starting to blur.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, like, what does it even mean to be human in a world where AI is at the core?
That's a deep question.
Yeah.
And it's one that we're going to need to grapple with as we, move forward.
Because it's really challenging our fundamental assumptions about what it means to be human.
Exactly. And it's, it all comes back to Kagan's initial premise.
Right.
He's asking us to rethink our whole relationship with AI.
Yeah.
Not just as a tool, but as something much more fundamental, something that could potentially reshape how we understand ourselves,
Yeah, it's like he's challenging us to step up and actively shape this future.
rather than just letting it happen to us.
Exactly. This isn't about, surrendering to the machines.
Right.
It's about recognizing the power of this technology and figuring out how to use it wisely, ethically, and for the benefit of all of humanity.
Beautifully said. After hearing all those AI responses, I can't help but think about the sheer scale of this shift.
It's huge, right? Like, we're talking about a fundamental change in how we view technology and maybe even intelligence itself.
Exactly. Kagan isn't just talking about a new gadget or software update. He's pointing to a potential transformation in our entire relationship with AI.
It's almost like we're moving from, like, the age of the Industrial Revolution to, like, the age of the AI revolution.
Yeah, and it's not just about the technology itself. It's about the ripple effects it'll have on everything from our economies to our cultures to our very understanding of what it means to be human.
I think Gemini really hit the nail on the head when it talked about AI potentially redefining intelligence.
Oh, absolutely. If AI becomes the core driving force behind so many fields, our current definitions of intelligence might become totally outdated.
It's like, will we even recognize intelligence as we know in a few decades? Will AI surpass our capabilities in ways we can't even imagine right now?
Those are some pretty mind-blowing questions, and I don't think anyone has the answers yet.
But I think it's important to be asking those questions, to be having these conversations now before this technology advances even further.
I agree. We need to be proactive, not reactive, and that's where Kagan's work is so valuable. He's pushing us to think critically about this shift, to engage in a deeper philosophical inquiry about our place in an AI-driven world.
And I think that's what we've tried to do in this deep dive, to go beyond the hype and really grapple with the potential implications of this enabler to core shift.
We've heard from 6 different AI models, each with their own unique perspective, and we've shared our own thoughts and concerns.
And now we want to turn it over to you, the listener.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on all of this? Does the prospect of AI as the core excite you, or does it make you a little uneasy?
Do you see it as a threat or an opportunity? Or maybe a little bit of both.
We'd love to hear your perspectives, your questions, and your insights, because ultimately, the future of AI isn't something that's going to be decided by a few tech companies or a handful of experts.
It's something we're all going to be shaping together through the choices we make, the conversations we have, and the actions we take.
So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into this fascinating and ever-evolving world of AI.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.